How many Goblin Rabblemasters is too many Goblin Rabblemasters? Today, ThrabenU will attempt to answer this question. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here with another Legacy video. This video is sponsored by Moxfield and we'll take a look at them after round 1. So our idea comes to us from Darth Patiens, aka Big Pun, from my Discord server, who basically said, hey, is this card playable? And if so, how many, air quotes, Goblin Rabblemasters can we actually play in a Legacy deck? So, Goblin Rabblemaster and Legion Warboss have very similar text, and we recently got a land-based version of them. Now we get another one kind of in the form of Squee Dubious Monarch. So what we are going to try to do today is just absolutely go like balls to the walls into the aggro zone, and like we're really going to put the stomp into Stompy, all right? And we're going to go so far down the aggro spectrum that we're actually going to run the Blood Moons in the sideboard instead of the main deck. But Phil, Blood Moons give a lot of free wins. Yes, they do. However, Blood Moon is often boarded out anyway in matchups in Legacy, either because opponents have too many basic lands, or because like you just have other more important things that need to come in, or like your opponent can just kind of work around them once they know it's coming. So if Blood Moon's primary job is to steal game 1 wins, wouldn't just a higher creature density accomplish the same thing? So we're going to try out some Cranko Tin Street Kingpins to stay on theme of the Goblin Rabblemasters, and then a Lone Lilia. I couldn't really decide what I wanted the final card in the deck to be, and while this one didn't produce a Goblin, it seemed very much to be in the spirit of the deck list, which is just like red, get 'em dead. I considered making this a Sokenzan land, but I didn't know that I was overly sold on that. One other thing that I considered was Caves of Chaos Adventurer, which is the red initiative card. I think that card is very strong, but I don't think this is the build for it. I think you kind of have to entirely redesign the deck around that card, so that may end up being a different video later. The sideboard is a thing of beauty, if I do say so myself. We've got 3 4-ofs and a 3-of. It must be perfect, right? In order to move the Blood Moons into the sideboard, we do end up sacrificing some of the dead gone type cards that normally would be there, or maybe Fiery Confluence. I think that's going to be okay. So this league is going to go fast. Like, win or lose, this is going to go fast. And we will be better at killing combo opponents. We'll just be a little bit faster. We'll be a little bit worse versus Urza Saga in particular, since we don't have those Blood Moons to just get rid of those. And we'll be a little bit worse versus something like Plague Engineer, that is just a static kill all goblins effect. But let's see if we can murder some players. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If this is your first time here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing for more sweet Legacy content. And if you're a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. That is the easiest way to support my content for free. If you're in the financial position to support me, please consider becoming a YouTube member, supporting me on Patreon, or doing a donation deck list to get one of your sweet videos on the stream, on the YouTube, whatever. Battle time. All right, I will be keeping my round 1 opening hand here, and I'll have some different options for how I play this. It's pretty attractive to maybe put Lilia under Chrome Box and just play Fable on turn 1. And then as long as this token gets to attack, I have a turn 2. I have a turn 2, 3 mana. Might be playing against elves, in which case Chalice is either amazing or terrible, with very little in between. And then whether or not they have Allosaurus Shepherd. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the turn off to cast a Chalice. Now that I've drawn another land, though, I can probably just go ahead and put the Spirit Guide under and be fine with this. Again, this is either going to be an amazing or terrible play, with very little in between. Oh! Regret putting Spirit Guide under now. We are probably playing against like a like maybe a Bant Zenith deck list. Just wasn't super expecting that after seeing just naturally played Forest. Yeah, so my play was very wrong for the matchup. I'm going to be super punished for it. That is what it is. But I really need a land here. Especially because, like, Prismatic Ending can happen and get rid of my Chrome Mox, and, life would be bad. Okay, opponent is missing land drops, though. Okay, and I have found land drops. If I play Fable, it can be Force of Negation, whereas the other things can't be Force of Negation. I think I'm into playing Fable, though, because if I draw another land next turn, I can potentially play double Goblin Rabblermaster, or Goblin Rabblermaster plus Lilia. Okay, it is a Force of Will. So, there's not too many cards in graveyard right now for Uro coming back. Opponent does not have white mana. Like, a lot of upside here for me. That I'm very good with. This land is not fantastic. I think I'm on Rabble into Rabble. And I'll get in there for one. Rabble into Rabble can be a little awkward if my opponent does end up getting the Uro, but I'm trying to just end things quickly. Alright, Endurance is now a thing that can happen. Don't think I care. Think I'm just battling. Alright. Let's yield to those. Don't even have to choose my attackers. They just happen. Oh, okay. It is not Endurance. I thought we were looking at Endurance. Is there a world where I want a second Chalice in case this is both Seiju? Yes. This still leaves me with 3 mana to play Lilia next turn. So let's go ahead and do that. Just makes it much harder for my opponent to slip out of the Chalice lock. Ha ha ha! A little weird to do that on a Chrome Mox, though. Because, like, that just converts back into a mountain. Okay. Maybe that was just a check for how many basics I have. Alright, what do we want to do versus this deck? I need at least Unlicensed Hearse. Probably Pyroblast. Leyline of the Void is playable. Moon's okay. Franco's probably the weakest of my threats. I think I'm on board with getting rid of that. My opponent's removal exiles making Squee a little bit worse. And if I want to bring in Pyroblast, then Chalice becomes worse. Where does this leave me? This leaves me at 61. Could, like, trim a Squee. And, like, we're just an episode of Initial D, and it's just like gas, gas, gas. Just absolute pedal to the metal, get them dead. With the tiniest ability to, like, use Fable of the Mirror Breaker or maybe Lilia to grind. This is fine. Do I actually still want Trinispheres? I maybe don't want Trinispheres if I'm trying to rely on Pyroblast. What does it look like if I cut Trinispheres and just, like, play no hate pieces? Like 1, 2, 3. Have a Trinisphere as a treat. Full on Stomp. Hand's a little weird here. I think on the draw I keep it. I value Unlicensed Hearse very highly. I don't really want to, but I value this pretty darn highly. I'm a little lighter on mana than I want to be, but, like, 48% of my deck or something like that is actually mana, so I'm ultimately good with it. Wow, getting the Savannah on turn 1. Ah, I see. Okay, that's fine. Alright. So the tough choice is what happens with Chrome Mox. I don't think I want to give up the Spirit Guide. Which maybe means, like, this is early enough in the game that I do the Pyroblast since I have double Unlicensed Hearse. Alright, Pyroblast goes under. I can play Hearse on turn 2, so I'm going to play one of my turn 1 threats. I think I just play a Rabblemaster, since it's better against a single target removal spell. And if I top deck another mana source, I can just play Lilia and get that going that way. Alright, mana base. What are you doing over there? I don't want my Chrome Mox to get Prismatic Endinged. A bit of a dubious brainstorm. But it might be important enough to try to find a piece of white removal for Goblin Rabblermaster this turn before it starts spiraling. That is ultimately the correct play. Okay, yeah, there is the Swords to Plowshares for my goblin friend. I think I do play Lyleo this turn. And we'll go ahead and crash on in. There's a Fury. Not be playing that this turn. Opponent goes to 14. I've hopefully got the graveyard covered. And then a Den for the not too distant. Never mind. And is Lyleo play or cast? Play. Okay, cool. So I can use that to hit land drops. Oh! Was not really expecting that. That's a Batterskull. Okay, that's not nearly as bad for me as I thought it was going to be. I guess I attack. And then see what I find. I can still play an unlicensed Hearse afterwards. Alright, get in there. Scale up. There's a Goblin Rabblermaster. I'm probably going to get wastelanded mid-combat now. I am not. I will go ahead and play a Hearse. I think that's better than playing the Rabblemaster. The Rabblemaster is not attractive in the face of Batterskull. And I'm going to go ahead and take out Snapcaster Mage targets immediately. Good news is that Lyleo will attack as a 5/5 next turn. And if some of my own stuff dies, I can exile it with Hearse to grow my Lyleo. Alright, there is another Abundant Growth. Field of the Dead, sure. Can't cast that for very much right now. So let's just go ahead and attack with the 5/5 here. Get in there. Den of the Bugbear. Kinda whatever. A big creature comes in. Good, I didn't get ambushed by a Caldra, which was one of my secret fears. Alright, my opponent has bought some time. Unfortunately, this land entering tapped means that I can't Shatterskull Smashing for X's 2 here. It's a thing that I would love to do given circumstances. So I think I will just go tapped land and play out another one of these just in case. And call it a turn. I think my opponent is just going to go land drop equipped to Batterskull. And that's a bit of a nuisance for me. But Lyleo is big. Okay, there's the land drop. Prismatic Ending is not good for me. That occurs. I've got Shatterskull Smashing as a thing that I'm able to do. So that's the good news. Cost me 4 mana to kill this. I mean, it's happening. Alright, pick that up to 2 for 1, 2, 3, 4 total mana. Alright, it's dead. This is crew 2, unfortunately. I'm going to hold the third Hearse in my hand. A third one just seems totally unnecessary here. And, like, that life may be necessary a little bit later. There's a Green Sun or something happening here. This is probably Collector Oof. Which probably means that I respond by doing this. As well as this. And I definitely feel good about not using the life here. Okay, it is indeed the Collector Oof. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different lands here. I maybe don't get wastelanded. We'll see. Alright, there's another basic. Opponent now can't re-equip Batterskull. I wonder if they were supposed to fetch and bounce their Batterskull prior to making that play. Okay, I am getting wastelanded despite Field of the Dead being in play. Oh, do you have a Loam? Oh, they have a Loam. Loam is insane here. So this is no longer on. I probably can't play Trinisphere. I probably lock myself out by doing that. I think I've lost this game. The third unlicensed Hearse here is pretty brutal. I don't have a red card to pitch to Fury. I won't have the mana to cast Fury. Yeah, I think I just drew too many copies of unlicensed Hearse. Simultaneously do and don't like Blood Moon versus this opponent, by the way. My unlicensed Hearses are now off versus that. This is inconvenient. Am I ready to scoop? It feels like I'm ready to scoop. Like, that's 2 zombies plus a wasteland on one of my things, plus Uro coming in the not too distant future. I think I'm good. So I can play Blood Moon. I can play Trinisphere or Chalice, Leyline. Like, I've got options. These Stoneforges are kind of messing with me. I'm not very good against that card in particular, and I can't really get better versus it. Their Wastelands make me not want to have Trinispheres. Blood Moons are medium. Yeah, I think I'm just going to try to take advantage of the fact that I'm on the play and just try to kill my opponent. Not 100% sure, though. My build is kind of weird. This is going to be a keep. I don't like the second Chrome Mox. I think it's just kind of one of those it is what it is situations. All right. I feel pretty confident that I start with Chrome Mox. One of these two cards goes under. I think I'm going to make it Pyroblast, play the Ancient Tomb, and start on the Fable. The grinding aspect of this card is very attractive to me, and it makes it less likely that my opponent will just go and take me off of mana sources more permanently via Wasteland. Yeah, so that's not getting a full card there, and now I get to loot away the Chrome Mox at the very least. Yes, I'm using this ability. I'm always discarding this. I think I discard the Den because I think I draw a new land a good portion of the time. I do. Am I interested in playing that land? I think I am. Because it allows me to double spell next turn if I draw a red source. Alright, so let's go Legion Warboss. Get that Goblin token on in there. And we're going to work towards copying that with Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. And Squee potentially represents haste damage next turn if I feel like I'm into that. Ponder away. Opponent probably just looking for white removal. Whereas I'm looking for another red source or an unlicensed hearse. Okay, there is the prismatic ending on my Chrome Mox, which is something that I am afraid of. Nice. So always this, then it's harder. Squee is more damage this turn, Legion Warboss is more damage over time. Because Squee is like 3, then 4, then 5. Legion Warboss 1, then 4, then 5. Actually, Squee's pretty good here. It's just more immediate pressure. So Legion Warboss adds 2 additional damage each turn, but Squee starts with that 2 damage up front. I think I'm actually going to take the upfront damage in this case, given that I have a reflection. Oh no, maybe because of maybe because of this, I want this. Question mark, question mark, question mark. I don't know. If my opponent has a removal spell, they point it here, though. All right, let's take the immediate damage from Squee. Let's go. This is awkward if my opponent, like, randomly has Karakas. Casting this card is also better versus a counterspell because there's worlds where I might end up bringing this back. Not a lot of worlds, but some worlds. Alright, after a good think or read, it did resolve. I will attack all. Mentor a token. Make another token with Squee. Get in for a crap ton of damage. Didn't randomly eat a Terminus or something like that. Kappa. This is fine. Let's attempt to make a copy of my Legion Warboss. Go to my next phase here. Alright. Always yield to that. Make some tokens. You may absolutely Icefang Coatl. Did not randomly find a Terminus. Squee is about to get bounced. Send them. We'll mentor onto some tokens. I haven't done the math. Feels like opponent is either dead or very close to it. Okay. Opponent goes to exactly 0. So they could have... They blocked a 1/1 token, right? They could have blocked a 2/2 and stayed alive. They did their math wrong. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a deck building website for Magic the Gathering, and it also serves as a database for all sorts of cool decks. So whether you are concerned with your own decks, or maybe decks for a specific format, you want to take a look at what people are messing around with for new cards, or maybe you want to specifically follow some people, like say some content creators, and see what they're up to, there's a ton to explore here, so consider checking it out. All right, my opponent and I exchange some pleasantries. I will be keeping my hand. It's very likely that I am casting Chalice of the Void on turn 1 in some capacity. But there's worlds where that's not true. Great Furnace Grindstone. I am playing against Painter. There's a decent number of 1-drops in Painter, and my opponent has already mulliganed. I'm kind of into just playing Chalice of the Void. Since I have double Spirit Guide, though, I might just play basic Mountain this turn and not take 2 damage. Alright, Chalice on 1 occurs. And next turn I'll either Fable or Goblin Rabblermaster, depending on kind of what's developing. So for example, if my opponent just plays a Painter, it's less attractive to play Goblin Rabblermaster immediately, because like there will be an X3 blocker. We're probably in for a grind, though. Because it's a grind. Never mind. Now, if my opponent does just play out a Painter... Whoa! Goblin Engineer. So this is going to put a Painter into Graveyard. I can play Ancient Tomb, Simian Spirit Guide. A Twin Shot Sniper? Wild? Is this 2 damage? Is 2 damage. My opponent used a Spirit Guide for that. So, I think I'm into this. 1, 2, 3, 4 using the Spirit Guide. Let's just junk that. Let's not mess around with my opponent being able to weld that thing in and out. And then hopefully get a pretty quick kill. Fuck! And that explains why they didn't just get Painter. I thought they were just setting up for a longer game. Yeah, so my opponent just grinds me and I die. I don't know, that Goblin Engineer being active, though, is a major pain for me. I don't regret what I did. It just doesn't work out here. Alright, GG. Now, Unlicensed Hearse is great. And then we start getting into the, like, how cheeky are you, Phil? Category of sideboarding. I still think I keep Chalices. Like, my opponent has Blasts, my opponent has Grindstones that they can't always put into play via Urza Saga. And I don't think I want Blood Moon specifically for Urza Saga. What's my worst threat here? Squee has haste. Franco probably scales up better than Squee. Oh, Trinisphere is not very good here. Maybe I cut all my Trinispheres and play like 1 Blood Moon or Pyroblast. Alternatively, I could be super cheeky, board out all of my Chalices and play Pyroblast. I don't know how good that actually is. It sounds cute. No. This has 0 reasonable threats in it. Let's mulligan that. Let's mulligan this. We're supposed to be hyper-aggressive. So, like, this is maybe not the end of the world here. Alright. We go deeper. Yikes. Is this actually a good 5-card hand? It keeps Mountain, 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 Fable, Fury. I have no play before turn 3 unless my opponent rams out a creature, in which case I 2-for-1 myself. I'm going to go to 4. Easily the best hand so far. Like, this is a keep. Fury goes away, a city goes away. And then it's Hearse versus Warboss. I think I play out the card that actively tries to win the game for me. And just hope to top deck future interaction or threats. Is like, if the top card is one of my threats, this hand, despite mulliganing to 4, is still extremely powerful. If I just start, like, Warboss into Rabblemaster, Warboss into Lilia, Warboss into Krenko, Warboss into Squee, anything like that, like, it will be exceptionally strong. Basically, I don't want to draw lands. I don't want to really draw Chalice. I don't really want to draw Fury. Damn. Okay, I mean, that's obviously very good. Oh, fuck, there's more. Okay. I'm scared. Yep. That's one of my worst draws. Okay, yeah, this is fine. You keep a hand without another mana source? Oh, I see. Sure. Yeah, there's the Grindstone. I'll be dead pretty quickly. Well, this just wasn't in the cards for me. At this point, my opponent probably beats me just by attacking with these things. Like, minus them even drawing another red land. Okay. They were hesitating on that Goblin Engineer attack, which makes me think that they have a Simian Spirit Guide. Which is scary. Do I even play this? I guess I do. It stops me from taking splash damage. But my supposed threat density has more or less failed me here. Come on, come on. Kind of. Alright, I play a Den of the Bugbear. I unfortunately lose my land in process. Not worth attacking. Yeah, and opponent's on a double Ancient Tomb hand, so, like, if I can start putting the hurt on, it adds up quickly. And that is 3 mana for the Grindstone kill. And I am unfortunately dead. GG's. Alright, we only have 2 mana in this opening hand, so this one is going to have to be a mulligan. This hand looks strong as fuck. I will be keeping this one. Probably throwing back a Den, although I'll regret that if I get wastelanded. As of right now, things are looking real good. Just turn one Rabble or Warboss into the other one on turn 2. Into Franco Tin Street Kingpin after that. Alright. You, I don't know. I'm getting combo vibes, so I'm just going to play out the one that Goldfish is the fastest. Ooh. I have been dazed. Alright, there's that island again. Yeah, there's those combo vibes I was getting. So this probably means show and tell. Let's War Boss. Actually, is that correct? I haven't done math with this one. So this scales up by 2 power each turn. This also scales up by 2 power each turn. Let's do the one that goes wide then. Get in for 1. And we do that in case I draw like another Rabblemaster. Granisphere is good. I will do that over playing a creature this turn. The harder question is whether or not I do it around days, because I would like to play tapped Den of the Bugbear. Alright. Make a dude. We crash in. I do a token. This hits for 5. Is Den of the Bugbear lethal next turn if I activate it? So this is worth 4 damage. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's not lethal next turn. It's not going to be lethal next turn. Then I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to play Trinisphere. Force pitching Force. There is a Shatter Skull Smashing. So I always have lethal next turn, right? Because this is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. This is already lethal here. I think I just want to hit my opponent for as much as possible this turn. For like Grizzlebrand sorts of reasons. So let's play this. Pay the life. Activate the Den. Go to combat. Cash in with everything. Mentor onto a creature. Hit for a bajillion D. Opponent's at 2. There's an Ancient Tomb. I respect showing yourself the door. I will be boarding 4 Pyroblasts in this matchup and not messing around with any of this other stuff. Fury probably seems like the worst thing in the deck list to me. My opponent doesn't have small creatures that they are probably going to try to get, like, block with. So I think that will just be my kind of easy 1-for-1 swap here. Hand looks pretty good. I'll have some choices to make about when/how I want to hold up Pyroblast. But the hand is 100% a keep. Like, very confident about that. Sure. Alright, let's go to my turn then. Oh, let's not go to my turn. Sure. Get that into play under my Trinisphere. Oh. Got choices. Let's start here, see if my opponent wants to daze this. They do not. I think I'm just going to put a Squee under this. Play out an Ancient Tomb. This is bad against Meltdown, but otherwise is very good. Cool. I'll put a Spirit Guide under there. I will play out Lelia. And I've successfully played around days. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to blast this. I am going to. I don't know that this is good. Because my opponent can just go like land show and tell Grizzlebrand or something, and then I don't stop this anymore. But this gives me a very good chance to scale up in power and actually produce a fast enough clock that I can beat my opponent if they don't have the absolute nuts. If they have the absolute nuts, I will regret this line. But I'm kind of hoping that my opponent kept a hand that needs to cantrip for a couple of turns before, like, assembling the full combo. We'll see. Like, that's a tough decision. Immediately faced with another tough decision of whether or not I play this out pre-combat. I miss a point of damage if I don't, so I think I'm into it. I also think I take some unnecessary damage. No, I don't need to worry about playing Pyroblast. Yeah, actually, no, I don't need to take the unnecessary damage. Alright. There's War Boss. There's a token. There's attacks. There's a Shatter Skull Smashing. I've already made my land drop. Opponent's at 10, and I believe they are dead next turn. They just animate Den and just boop. Give them the bonk. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14 damage next turn. Alright, we do have a fetch. There's 3. Simian Spirit Guide. Absolutely. So if Simian Spirit Guide blocks here, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage, it's still just lethal. Cool, cool. Send them. Do some mentoring. Den stuff. Exile something with Lilia. Throw that under the bus. And that is just a turn 3 kill. GG's. Alright, I'll be keeping my opening hand here. It's not exactly insane. Like, it's Den into Tomb, into Warboss, into Activate Tomb. Or sorry, Activate Den. But if I draw, like, another creature or a lock piece or something, this hand becomes pretty good. I'm just, like, not super interested in the double cities that I've got right now, because I have 3 land drops that I want to make before using one of those. That said, I still don't think this is a mulligan. My opponent has gone to 5, which maybe means unfair combo. It means 8 cast, sure. There is an Emery. My opponent's got a card draw machine online. Alright, they've seen Warboss. The jig is up. Take your card. Fable is a Magic the Gathering card. I'm not sure how I feel about it right now. Like, it's not a bad draw. I'd kind of like to just draw a Fury and kill the Emery. That would be worth 2 cards to me right now. Easily. Yeah, because, like, this whole bobble thing is just going to keep happening every turn. Opponent doesn't have more lands. Like, I'm probably good. I think I'm interested in playing Fable next to loot through both of these City of Traders. Gives me more looks at Fury. Okay, yep, that's fine. Opponent has seen Fable now as well. Oh, that I don't like. That I definitely don't like. Okay. I think this game is going to be very tough from here. Not like I can't win or anything, but if opponent starts making construct tokens and they're lifelinky, it is an uphill battle. Alright. Now, I can have 6 mana next turn. It's just, like, not 6 mana when I want to have 6 mana. Whiff, 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 whiff. Okay. Yes. Okay. Dodge Ancient Tomb. Okay, dodge land drop. Fuck. Damn it. Oh. Now bobble happens. My opponent can make a relatively large creature, and it's just a question of, like, how many bobbles are they using versus how many are they keeping. Okay, there's at least 2. Okay, there's 3. This construct's not actually that big then, huh? Alright, draw your cards. They'll go up to 4. They sacrifice Lotus Petal to make their construct. They'll have 1, 2. They'll have a 4/4, which is better than this. Yes, I will use this ability. 100% looting away one of these. Unsure this versus this. I think I'm going to get rid of the Ancient Tomb. I don't know that I can have 2 of those. Are we going wide? Going wide is hard versus this. But it's probably the plan. Alright. Tomb or City? I think Tomb. Not 100% sure. But I think I want to have multiple red lands in play to multi-spell easier. Definitely awkward, though. Alright. We'll yield to those. I don't want to attack with this token this turn. Yeah. Gonna need some sort of, like, Fury-like card, which probably means not playing my last red card. But this feels pretty disastrous for me. So, like, the ground is not safe. The Pithing Needle was on either this or Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, I guess. Okay, yeah, they're going for the Reflection. That's fair. Means I don't get Shadow Spear equipped this turn. A lot of worlds. Not all worlds, because they can go Petal from Graveyard plus land or something like that. Alright, there's a Mox Opal. So then opponent can Petal from Graveyard to get it equipped. Oh, or not. That's very good. I really needed a faster hand here versus this deck. It's like, I've got the stuff, just not really succeeding in forcing my way through for the damage. I also think my opponent got pretty greedy with the Thought Monitors. Like, opponent could have equipped a Shadow Spear and gained, like, roughly 8 life rather than played some of this stuff out. I think that's better. But I guess some of this stuff is... Oh, just threw into Ancient Tomb with the last one. Sure. Alright, I feel pretty confident that I cannot beat that at this point. I will concede. This is going to probably be another minimal sideboarding matchup. Alice is going 0 instead of 1, meaning that it's fine to play Pyroblasts. I can play some number of Pyroblasts and Unlicensed Hearse. I don't know that I'm really interested in Trinispheres. Those will become Pyroblasts. And then do I want Hearse or Emery specifically? Franco maybe doesn't scale up the best here against my opponent's Urza Saga tokens. If I want the Hearses, I can do something like this. I think I want them. Not 100% sure. Like, Pyroblast alone might be enough to cover it. This is Chalice on 0 into Rabblemaster on turn 1. That is a keep in my books. It takes some amount of pain from my own mana base here over time. Alright, there's Force pitching a Thought Monitor. And then we'll start trying to get my opponent dead with a Rabblemaster. Sending in for 1. Opponent drops to 18. I don't have a good follow-up play here, but I'm pretty good at taking out like an Emery or Sai or something like that my opponent goes all in on early. My opponent's hand is horrifying. Okay. Thoughtcast, sure. Okay. Is there something I'm actually scared of? Another Thoughtcast. Sure. That's pretty good. Opponent can't really crack that bobble because they need the Metal Craft. Not sure how big my opponent's Urza Saga token is going to be. Oh my god, Dismember? Good god. Yeah, I will lose to your double Thoughtcast Dismember start. That also answered my Chalice. What the fuck? This is awkward. Not gonna pay the life. I'm just gonna go ahead and sacrifice the City of Traders here. I think I have to keep this Spirit Guide to pitch to this, and I want to be able to consistently play 1 red, 2 colorless cards that I top deck. I guess here I just need my opponent not to have a land, because I can probably beat 1 Urza Saga token. Beating multiple is quite hard. Alright. So there's the Rabblemaster. I'll go to combat. I will attack with both of these. My opponent will probably make a token. This doesn't have flash or anything. I don't get it like super immediately. But it's pretty good. So my opponent takes 1. Then I Fury, pitching Spirit Guide, and junk that token. Okay. So hopefully this has put my opponent in a bad situation. I'll still probably need to top deck something else. My opponent can like find like a Retrofitter Foundry that makes a bunch of chump blockers here or something like that. Alright, they're going for the Shadow Spear. Sure. Well, that's a pain in the butt. I have a lot of top decks that help with that, but that's a pain. Haven't really fought a break here. Would I trade Goblin Rabblermaster for Emery in a heartbeat? It does make future turns awkward, though. Let's go, though. We're here to beat down and see if this is good enough. And, Rabblemaster gets huge. It's a lot of damage if my opponent doesn't block it. Okay, that's fine. I end up ahead on damage here. And opponent is not opting to sacrifice the bauble. Okay, they're going for a Lotus Petal. Don't really know what that means. Like, they have more, like, Thought Monitor type cards. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is 4. So a Thought Monitor would cost 3 mana. Okay, Thought Monitor is fine. The opponent now needs, like, another land to move the Shadow Spear here. Or no, didn't they already play Did they play Otawara this turn? No, they played Lotus Petal. Okay, cool. Now I did catch a break. Alright, so there's another Rabblemaster. There's a Dismember, that's fine. Let's yield to those. Okay, yeah. And then this is lethal damage because of the tokens. Alright, cool. I don't think I'm going to change my sideboarding here. Like, Leylines and Trinispheres are all kind of eh. I am lacking in red mana here, which probably means this one has to be an auto mulligan. Alice is also significantly better on the play than on the draw. So let's ship it. This hand is probably a keep. Probably getting rid of the City of Traders. And I've got some flexibility for how I play out turn 1. I'll probably kill an Emery. I have the opportunity to kill an Emery. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I think I just don't want this thing alive. I think that is my first play, and then I follow up with the Chalice on 0. I don't want my opponent ever having access to that Shadow Spear if I can prevent it. Alright, so attempt the Pyroblast. Attempt the Chalice on 0. And I have very strong follow-up from here. Like, Rabblemaster into Rabblemaster is great. Thoughtcast is fine. I'm much more afraid of something like a Sigh. That makes my opponent's artifacts live again. That's the sort of thing that I'm afraid of. Okay, am I using Spirit Guide this turn? I think I'm using Spirit Guide this turn so that I can play Den untapped. That actually change anything, though? It maybe doesn't change anything, because I'm very unlikely to double spell. If I do want to double spell, I still have Spirit Guide. Okay, JK, I changed my mind. Let's save that Spirit Guide. I'll make my little 1 damage and crash on in, and we'll see how scary my opponent can make this for me. Thought Monitors still cost a lot of mana at this point. Oh, well, that is a card that I am very specifically bad against. That's super annoying. I'd love to draw a Fury. Nope. So I can play a Legion Warboss. Will be a 1/1. Yeah, this is super awkward for me. This is, like, beyond a greedy play. Like, a greedy thing to have in the deck, but it's obviously doing work here. I'm going to play this out as something that can attack into the Plague Engineer. I think my opponent's sideboard card here has unfortunately won them this game. Like, I can play out a second Goblin Rabblermaster, but then, like, that ends up forcing the first to attack in a way that's not super great for me. I don't know, maybe if they both attack as 2/2s, it's fine. This gets really awkward versus, like, a Dismember sort of effect. Alright, so there's my attack with the 2/2. Opponent goes to 13. I think I'm okay with the post-combat Goblin Rabblermaster, but again, like, it can become awkward. And I did this post-combat so that this wasn't forced to attack this turn. Just in case that wasn't clear. Alright, here we go. Alright, those triggers resolve. Send everything in. Hydroblast. Pyroblast. Hopefully saves me here. Nope. That's pretty frustrating. Now this goes away for free, which is not the best for me. Guess I go ahead and do play this out. I think that is worth the life. It's just not great. At this point, I'm hoping my opponent has a handful of 0-cost artifacts that are just stuck in their hand. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, Hydro Blast is probably in this deck specifically because of Minsk and Boo coming to Magic Online. I think I'm in for this. It's so good if it resolves. Alright, cool. 4 to Plague Engineer. And then this, unfortunately, is 4 to activate, so I'm 1 short of activating that. But hopefully this just ends my opponent playing around a future Plague Engineer a little bit better, and this is theoretical lethal next turn through a blocker. Okay, I'm really happy to win this match, because that was feeling like an uphill battle to me. I think my opponent had some absolutely insane Thought Monitor / Thoughtcast strings, and this Plague Engineer nearly ended me. So we're up to 3-1. Alright, final round here. I have 2 mana. I can play a Chalice on 1, and then I just have no follow-up play without drawing another land. I think it's safer to just mulligan. Okay. Wow, this hand is awkward. I'm gonna keep and I'm gonna believe. I think I have to believe in Fable of the Mirror Breaker. A little awkward to not Chalice first. Maybe I do Chalice first. Just like such a good play in the blind. Oh, okay. Just snap resolved. And then I can still Fable next turn. It's easier on my mana if I Fable on turn 1 so that I can attack and use a treasure token on turn 2. Hey now. Let's not get any ideas, okay? Let's not get any ideas. Because Mr. Phil would very much like to win game 1 versus this deck, alright? Alright. I am sufficiently scared. I believe I am discarding both of these. Just don't think I'm interested in these more than something like a Trinisphere. Hell yeah. Alright. Go ahead and attack, crash on in there. Brings my opponent to 18. I think I'm interested in taking 3 to preserve this treasure token. Like, there's worlds where this treasure token matters quite a bit if my opponent is randomly playing Days. Alright. Next turn's the scary one. Alright. I have not done a great job of actually doing damage, so this Grizzlebrand getting in play will beat me in a lot of timelines. This does require my opponent to naturally have a 3rd land drop, though. It can't be a Lotus Petal. And Reanimator is a relatively land-light deck. Please, 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 please! Please? Yes! Alright, cool. Okay, there's an Archon in there. So this is 6 damage this turn. 6 followed by 8 is 14, which is not lethal. But it would prevent fetching, right? So I hit my opponent for 6, then I hit them for 8. That is 14. That would prevent these fetches. Alternatively, I can turn this into like a Rabblemaster copy at this turn, attack with it, which is super fucking hot. Okay, my opponent is just conceding. That's fine. I think I would have played out the Spirit Guide. And I would have been rewarded for that choice. Alright. Ley Lines in. Curse in. Blood Moon, probably not interested in that. Fury is the easy out. Franco maybe after that. We are Fable. We has haste. Haste is good. Like, my opponent thinking they have one more turn than they do is very good for me. I probably keep all the Squeeze. Lilia also has haste. Fable loots into more hate pieces, which is cool. But I think I wouldn't really notice the difference between 2 and 3 of those. I don't know. At the same time, like, Franco can scale up pretty quickly if it's not messed with. Maybe this is better. But, like, the tokens aren't attacking, unlike some of these other things. So that matters. I'm just not sure on Fable here. I would like a Leyline hand when I'm on the draw. This is not gonna do it. Alright, let's see what my 6 looks like. This This is not good enough on the draw. Go to 5. This can produce a turn 1 Chalice of the Void, but then cannot play a follow-up threat. I do not think this is good enough. This is easily the best hand so far. So this is a keep. 1 City of Traders goes. It's harder from there. I'd probably get rid of my threat, and then which of these I keep is tough. I think I'm going to keep the hearse. I don't know. Like, Trinisphere is pretty good. Neither one of them is good versus Serenity, which is something that I'm worried about. Chancellor. The good news is I will get to see whether or not my opponent plays a Serenity before I play Unlicensed Hearse. So that's nice. Not pay life for that. And we'll get a feel for whether or not opponent has Serenity right now. There's worlds where they just, like, kept a hand that allowed them to go off on turn 1. Don't double fetch for Serenity. Ooh, no double fetch for Serenity. Since I can't successfully resolve this card this turn, I will just play Unlicensed Hearse. But again, this is a very good play versus, like, a Serenity. There are worlds where my opponent just, like, sandbags a Serenity for the turn because I'm not presenting pressure yet. I don't think that's a thing, but it could be. There are also, like, sideboard show and tells that I have to think about. Not in every build, but in some. Alright, we're seeing some motion. Okay. That's not white mana. That, unfortunately, is white mana. Alright, there is the Serenity, so my Unlicensed Hearse is not doing a lot here. Life is not great. I can bash in for 1. I have nothing in the graveyard for Unlicensed Hearse to do cool stuff with. This gives my opponent an opportunity to reanimate. Alright, they are unmasking me, pitching a Dark Ritual. How much more do you have? I know one of your cards. Like, I know you have a Chancellor. Chancellor's beatable. I don't know that Grizzlebrand is. Okay, that is just Chancellor. That's not the end of the world for me. Oh, we're just flashing back. This gives me a chance to draw a hearse. There is an Exhume. Hearse. Mountain is not a good draw. I mean, I'll send on in there. It's a decent amount of damage, which, like, is relevant if, like, reanimate specifically occurs. I don't think I'm interested in playing a mountain here. I'm thinking about some very fringe, unlikely scenarios, but, like, there's some weird things where, like, a Sire of Insanity gets into play or something, and then I just don't have the tools to cast a 3-mana top-decked thing that I draw. Alright, there's a Dark Ritual. The Hardcast Grief. That is a Hardcast Grief. So that's something that can trade with my Goblin Rabblermaster. Your last card, a reanimation spell. You discarded an Exhume before, maybe because you were scared of this. Okay, it is an Animate Dead. Not great for me. So I can play this Goblin Rabblermaster pre-combat. If I do so, I make 2 tokens, and my Goblin Rabblermaster has to attack. We'll trade with Grief. I'll deal 3 damage to my opponent. If I do my Goblin Rabblermaster post-combat, I deal 1 to my opponent. I think this is a post-combat Goblin Rabblermaster hoping to attack in with 2 creatures next turn, forcing the trades on both of these. My opponent's Chancellor tax is really annoying here. It costs me my City of Traders, which I'm not a fan of. My opponent will also get to know that there's just, like, enough pressure here that they probably don't get to attack. And I can't play a top-decked redrop next turn. Luckily, most of my opponent's plays are pretty bad now. I'm not going to show that until after combat. Alright. Token. Send them. These go up to 6. Is a lot of damage and does mean that the Chancellor and the Grief die, leaving me with 3 power in play and a Den of the Bugbear. Should I top deck a Soul Land, this is lethal next turn. Let's see if opponent finds a new reanimation spell. Reanimate's off the table for some of this stuff now. Like, they can still reanimate, like, a Grief or one of my Rabblemasters or something, but, like, they are at 7. They can't reanimate Grief or Chancellor anymore. Okay, that is the concession, and we end up with a 4-1 in this league. Overall thoughts on the deck list? Honestly, pretty good. I didn't really miss Blood Moon in this league, which is kind of a wild thing to say. Do I think that this deck list is the be-all, end-all, and the way forward for the deck? No, I don't necessarily do, but, like, this is a distinct build. The pressure that it puts on early and the haste damage from cards like Squee and Lilia are definitely scary. I don't know if I boarded out Krenko too much. Like, this is a card that can scale pretty well. Like, I respected the haste side of the equation of, like, some of these other creatures a bit more. But, like, maybe I'm wrong in doing so. I also just haven't seen this card in action very many times, so, like, I may or may not be evaluating this card well. One thing that I'll say here is that the vast majority of the things that require red pips in this deck are goblins. So there's worlds where you could build something that looks like this that also has Cavern of Souls and just, like, play, like, tribal goblin aggro or something like that without it being crazy. Like, you probably have to drop Lilia, and Fable of the Mirrorbreaker would be a little bit more questionable, but, like, that's something to keep in mind, or maybe, like, you can play some sideboard caverns or something like that. Sideboard for this deck felt great, like, very clean. Like, I don't necessarily have answers to everything, but, like, I have answers to a lot of stuff. This gets a true thumbs up from me. Like, this was a good league. I will say sometimes we are praying to the top deck a little bit more than I might like, but, like, deck is powerful in kind of any way that you build it. And for our deck builders out there, I hope I have given you some horrible ideas for you to experiment with. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. If you want to mess around with this deck list, it's available via Moxfield. And if you find yourself wanting to support my content, remember you can do so via a YouTube membership, Patreon subscription, or by doing a donation deck list. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!